Hello and welcome to today's video about external drives. My name is Finn and I'll be teaching you about what external drives are, the different types of external drives, what you can use them for, and how to set them up. Alright, so an external drive are a type of portable storage device that is connected externally through your computer, and it's usually through USB. And you can use them for a variety of things such as file transfer, file backup, or maybe just general file storage. They come in many different shapes and sizes. There's different ones you can get, so that way you can best determine which one works best for you. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about really the main three types of external drives you will find in your stores and what a lot of people end up using. So the first one we're going to talk about is these things. They're called USB flash drives. I'm also going to be talking about external hard drives and also going to be talking about external SSDs. So the first one, this is called an external USB flash drive. You might have seen this in your workplace or just people carrying them around. They're very popular. They're connected through USB, and you can buy models up to 2 terabytes, but typically you'll see them going for around maybe 32, 64, 128 gigabytes. They're very affordable. They're very cheap, so you can get one of these for maybe $15 and you can get like 128 gigs on it. They're very small, so they're very good for file transfer or booting onto a computer. So since because of the small form factor, you can easily plug them into a computer and then move it to another computer to move it around. Or if you need to give someone a file, and if you need to give someone a file physically, you can just hand it to them. They're very easy to use, very easy to set up. You just plug it in and then set it up. Alright, so some cons of having a USB flash drive can include its damage vulnerability. Since it's very small and light, it's very easy to break, especially if you bring it around with you a lot. It's very prone to physical damage. Also, it being small, you can lose it very quickly and easily, so you can easily misplace it somewhere. And it has very small storage size compared to hard drives and SSDs. Hard drives and SSDs can have at least 1 terabyte, whereas external flash drives only have maybe 16, 32, 64 gigs. So it's good for file transfer, but if you want to store large multiple files, you should probably use something else. Also, they don't last as long as SSDs and hard drives. You can only read and write from them a certain amount of times, and if you want looking for long-term storage, then flash drives aren't really great for that. A very good use for USB flash drives is for file transferring. So a lot of people have photos they like to transfer between computers, and these can be very good for that. Also, just any type of file that you want to transfer between computers, you can use a USB flash drive for, and that's what it's best used for, because it's very quick and very easy to unplug it and plug it back in and just move it between computers. So if your main focus for an external drive is to use it for file transfer, then I would recommend using a USB flash drive. So the next type of external storage device we're going to be talking about is an external hard drive. So they look like this. They're just sort of like a rectangular box. As you notice, they're definitely a lot bigger than our USB flash drive from earlier. But they connect via USB, so just this cable right here, you just have to plug it in. And you just plug this in and you plug this into the computer. As you notice, it's a lot larger, so it could be a little bit less convenient for you to carry around with you, but the good thing about these is that they have much higher storage capacity compared to your USB flash drive. These store minimum 1 terabyte. You can buy up to, I think, 5 terabytes with this size, and you can just store a lot more on this. They're also much more cost effective with storage. So you can get one for $50 for 1 terabyte, and I think it's $60 for 2, and I think it's $100 for 4 terabytes. So they're a little bit bigger, but they have a lot more storage. And if you're either doing data backups or you want to store large amounts of files, then I would definitely recommend an external hard drive. So for stuff like video editing, I would recommend an external hard drive just to store all of your external videos on, or data, or just massive data backup. So if you have a laptop that you're trying to back up, then you can use an external drive to do that. Also, you would find with Mac, Time machines if you want to back up your whole system, your whole Mac, you can put them on an external hard drive. Some cons of it is that, but they do last. They also last a lot longer than a USB flash drive. These last for as long as you take care of them, and they're very reliable. They're much more reliable than a USB flash drive. The only downsides to them is that they do have a lifespan, like everything. So it's not the best. It is much better than a USB flash drive, but there are other options out there that have a much more have a longer drive life than these do. The other downside I would say is just the size. So if you're looking for something to make a quick, convenient file transfer, then I wouldn't recommend an external hard drive. I would recommend a flash drive. But like I said, these are good for large amounts of files or data backups. All right, so the last type of external drive I'm going to be talking about today is an external SSD, or also known as an external solid-state drive. Now, external SSDs, they're about the same size as a hard drive, maybe a little bit smaller, but instead of using mechanical parts, they use solid state to store their memory on. SSDs are a lot faster than hard drives, and also, of course, USB flash drives, and they're a lot more reliable, and they're a lot faster. So if you really care about drive speed and how fast you want your storage to be transferred, then I would definitely recommend getting an SSD. They're also more reliable and last a little bit longer than your typical hard drive. The only drawback to an SSD, however, is the price. So you're paying for speed instead of storage, essentially. So whereas in a mechanical hard drive, you can be paying as little as $50 for a terabyte, for an SSD, you can be paying around twice as much, so probably around $100 for a terabyte. But yeah, so SSDs are really good. Also, good for backup, good for file transfer, file storage. But if you really care about speed, so maybe if you're editing a video or if you're working off that drive actively, then I might recommend an SSD since it's a lot quicker than a typical hard drive. So if you're, like I said, editing a video or just editing directly off the drive, then I would definitely recommend using a solid state drive. Alright, so something to sort of think about when you're using an external drive is formatting it. So formatting it is essentially just setting up the drive with your software, so that way the computer that you're using can read it correctly, or can utilize it correctly. So, and this is a very important part, right? So if you buy an external drive, setting it up and formatting it is an important part of using the external drive, and I'll show you how to do that later on in the video. But yeah, so depending on the type of computer you're using, or how many computers you're using the drive with, formatting it is very important. So if you're going to be using it on Windows, the default formatting option is NTFS, and the default formatting option on Mac is APFS. Some people just want to use their external drive on a Windows computer, so it doesn't really matter. Some people just want to use it on a Mac, so it doesn't really matter. But if you really want to use it between both a Windows and a Mac machine, I would suggest setting it up to exFAT, because that certain formatting system can read and write files on both Windows and Mac, and you can transfer them. So you can read and write files on a Mac, you can read and write files on a Windows machine, so that makes it easier to transfer files between both a Mac and a Windows machine. Alright, so here you have our MacBook, and I'm going to be showing you how to set up your external drive on Mac OS. So here we have, for the sake of this video, we're just using a standard 2 GB USB flash drive. It doesn't matter whether you're using SSD, hard drive, or another flash drive. The tutorial to set this up should all be pretty much the same. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in. I'm using a MacBook that does not have a standard USB connector. It only has USB-C, so I have to get an adapter. And we're just going to plug this in here. Make sure it plugs in the right way. It just plugs in like that. Okay. So now we can see the name of our drive up here on the top right. It's called No Name. Now we can access it by either double clicking here. When you plug it in the drive, you'll see it appears here. on the desktop. And here's our Finder app showing us where it is. Or we can also access this by going down to Finder, which is that little icon down there. And if you scroll down, and you go to no name, or the name of the drive. In this case, it's called no name. On Mac, you know it's an external drive because it has that little eject button, and it also has that little symbol of that round, kind of rounded off rectangle. But here we are. So I'm going to show you how to format it. It's different. I'm going to show you how to format it, which means setting it up. So we're going to go to Disk Utility. I just went here by using the search bar, which is Command Space. So I pressed, I'll do it again. I pressed Command Space together, and I typed in Disk Utility. Enter. Alright. Now this shows all the names of the drives that we have under macOS, under this computer. So here we have our hard drive that is stored in the computer. And then here we have an external drive, and even it says external drive, and we see that that is 2 gigabytes. So we're gonna go, if you want to reformat the drive, sometimes you do need to reformat them if you can't put files on them, other times you don't. But it's good that when you get a new drive to just reformat it to make sure the computer you're using is supported by it. So we're gonna go up here and click Erase. Now this, if you had anything on this hard drive previously, it will all get erased. So make sure either there's nothing on there that you want to keep, or make sure that the stuff you did keep is moved to another drive or moved somewhere else. So we're going to name the drive. It's asking us to name it. I'm going to name it just USB 2 gigs. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to click, so this is the default format. So this is the way that the drive is going to be set up. Now, in most cases, if you just want to use Mac for your external hard drive and you don't want to go to Windows, then just keep it where the default is, wherever that was. But if you do want to switch between both Windows and Mac OS, I would recommend exFAT. So in this case, I'm going to click exFAT, but if you just want to use Mac, you can just use the default, whatever it was on. And then we're going to click Erase. And this is going to rename the disk, the drive, and it's also going to reformat it so then it can work like this. So now we see here, if we go to Finder, that the drive is named USB 2 gig, and there's nothing on there, so we can't see it. But yeah, that is how you set up an external drive on macOS. Alright, so now I'm here to show you how to set up an external drive on a Windows machine. Today we're using a Windows 10 laptop. It should be fairly similar on Windows 11. I'll also run through in a Windows 11 laptop so I can show you as well. But again, we're using the same thing, a USB external flash drive. Like I said from earlier, it doesn't really matter if you use an external SSD or external hard drive. They should all work the same. Alright, so we're going to plug this in on the side. We're going to make sure it's plugged in like that. Now we're going to see that our computer picked it up here. And we're going to go down here to File Explorer, that little blue folder. And then we're going to go down to the drive. And we can see it says USB 2. One way you can tell if you have an external drive on a Windows machine is if you see it here. I know that I have a 2 gigabyte storage drive, and we can see that here. Also, I would say check to see what drives you have before you put in the drive to see which one is new once you put it in. But as you can see here, it's this one because we know it's a 2 gigabyte drive. Alright, so we're going to go there. We're going to click this drive. There's nothing in it because we didn't put anything on it. And we're going to right click on it. So we need to left click to make sure it's blue like that. And then we're going to right click, and then we're going to click Format. Left click Format. Now we're going to bring up this little window. Now what we're going to do now is, this is the capacity of the drive. File system, so that's what we're going to format it to. NTFS or FAT, that's for Windows. So if you're just using this drive for Windows, I'd recommend doing either one of them. It doesn't really matter. However, if you want to transfer between a Mac, I would recommend exFAT. So we're going to click exFAT Here's the volume label. If you want, we can click on it and erase and change the name. I'm going to keep it the same though, it doesn't really matter. And then we're going to click start. We don't need to worry about the other options. And it warns you about deleting the data. You can just go ahead and click OK. It says format complete, so now this drive is formatted. Alright, so here we are on a MacBook Pro, and I'm going to be showing you how to move files between different folders on this MacBook Pro. Now, if you have an external hard drive that you're trying to transfer files to and from, this would be the exact same process. So it would just, the drive that you would have will show up under here, and you would just click that drive and you would see your external drive pop up. But it should not affect the process on how you do it. So we're going to use this file here called test using external files.pdf. And right now we have it on our desktop. We can see that it's over here using external drives.pdf. Now let's say if we wanted to move it to an external drive, we can find it over here. But let's say we want to move it to our documents folder. So we can either do it this way by I'm having just two separate windows of Finder open. You can do this by alternate clicking Finder, so holding down Control and click, and then you click New Finder window. Now, what I'm going to do is, there's a few ways you can do this, but the way I'm going to be doing this today is just dragging it into my Documents folder. So I'm going to click it using external drives. I'm going to click and hold as I drag it into Documents. Now let's just put it under SDM YouTube videos, right there. Now if we go back into our documents and we open SDM YouTube videos, we can see that our new drive is right here. Now if we want to, let's say, move it back, we can always drag it back and it'll move there, but notice how it deletes the original destination. So if I move it here, if I move it back into here, it deletes it off of where it previously was. Now, if I want to keep it in the old location as well as the new location, I can hold Control and click. If you're on a Windows machine, this would be right click. You'd click copy. You'd click copy right here. You'd click the area you'd want to paste it into. You'd hold down Control and click, and you'd click paste item. Now it's in both locations. So it's in the old location and the new location. This is pretty much the same process on Windows. You'll see a little folder icon instead of Finder, and it's the same thing. You can drag and drop, and you can right click, press copy, and then right click in your new destination and press paste.
Another key concept to understand when working with external drives is how to properly eject them from your device when you're done using them. Now, you don't want to just pull out an external drive without first stopping it and ejecting the media. Most of the time, this will not cause a problem, but because there is electricity flowing through the connected drive and the computer, just yanking it out can cause all sorts of problems, including corrupted data. It could cause your drive to be unusable and the data on it to become unreadable. Now, in most cases, this will not happen. So if somebody happens to just pull out your external drive, chances are the data will be intact, but this is bad practice and should be avoided whenever possible. Now, I have an external drive connected here. So if I click my File Explorer down here, and you see on the side, if I click this PC, you'll see I have a USB drive D here connected. And if I click into this, you'll see I have a test file here, text document. So this will become relevant in just a minute here. So first I'm going to show you the standard way that you would eject this drive. On the bottom here, in a Windows computer, and I can show you the equivalent of Mac afterwards. So if we click on this little arrow here, show hidden icons, you'll see that there's this one that says safely remove hardware and eject media. And it has a little icon of a flash drive and a check mark. If we click this, you'll see that it says eject UDisk, and it has my USB drive D listed. So I can click here, and I should now get a message in a moment that this is safe to eject. If I don't, you'll see that this is actually the little safe to eject media icon is gone from here. And I can go to my File Explorer here, and click on this PC, and you'll see that this D drive is no longer listed under devices and drives. That means that this drive has been successfully ejected, and I can now physically remove it from the computer. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the drive, and we can hear a noise there that indicates that a drive or a device has been disconnected from the machine. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug it in again, and we'll see that USB drive now shows up again here under this PC. Now, there may be times where you're working on something that is on this drive, and when you try to eject it, it tells you that it's not possible. I'll show you an example of this. So if I double click onto the drive, you'll see I have a text file here called test. If I double click on test, now this computer is editing this text file using Notepad, and it has it open from this drive here. So my computer has opened this file that exists on this drive. Now, if I attempt to eject this drive, it will tell me that there is a problem. Eject disk. It says, problem ejecting. This device is currently in use. Close any programs or windows that might be using this device, then try again. So, because I know I have this text file open, and this text file exists on this drive, all I have to do in this case is I can close this text file, and now I should be able to eject the drive. I'm going to show you another alternate way to eject the drive as well in Windows. So if I click on this PC, I can also right-click or control-click on this drive here, and there's an option in this menu for eject. And now I can choose eject from this menu. This is functionally exactly the same as choosing it from the hidden icons menu down here. So I'll just do it this way this time. And we'll choose eject. And now because I've closed that text file, this does not tell me that there is a problem ejecting. Eventually this drive will disappear from this PC folder here. So you can either right click on the drive to eject, or you can click down here and there should be the icon here to eject the drive safely. Now, there may be times where you are that you get that message, but it's not obvious what is holding up this ejection. So you will click this eject, and it'll tell you that it's currently in use. Now, there could be background processes that is using something on the drive. So if you try to eject and it keeps failing, and it's not something obvious like this, where you have a file open on the drive, you closed all these windows, made sure nothing on the drive is open, you can either shut down the computer, or you can log out, and you should be able to then remove the drive, as it will stop all processes. But the preferred method is to just shut down everything, and then you can pull the drive out safely once the computer is fully shut down. Now, this is only for cases where you are having trouble trying to eject this, and it's not working. You get that message that the drive is in use, but it's not really obvious where it's being used. So to prevent any data loss or corruption, the safest bet is to just shut down the entire computer, and then you can safely remove the drive. So I'm going to go ahead and eject again here. And now you can see that drive is gone. So this is the way to properly eject your external hard drives on a PC. And I'll show you the Mac equivalent now. Now, the process of ejecting a flash drive on a Mac is roughly the same process, with a few slight differences in how the UI is laid out and where things are and how they look. So I'm going to go ahead and plug my flash drive into this MacBook now. And you can see once the USB drive is plugged in, a little drive icon here has showed up on my desktop. It says SDM, that's the name of this drive here. Now you can double click on this, and this will take you into the drive here. You can see that this is my test text file here. Now, I can also look at this by clicking on my Finder window, and on the left-hand column here, if I scroll down, we can see under locations, we now have a drive called SDM here, and this will be reflective of whatever your drive is named. Ours is just called SDM. Now, you can eject this there's a little button right here on the side. This symbol is the eject symbol in Mac here. So if I were to click this, you'll see that this SDM has now disappeared from the desktop here. So I will pull it out and plug it back in. So this means that this has been ejected. I can now take this drive out. So here I'll plug it back in now. And here it shows up again, SDM. So I can also take this drive and I can drag it down to the trash here. You'll see that this trash icon looks like a little trash barrel here. But once I take this drive here and I drag it over the trash, you'll see that turns into this sort of eject icon. You see that there? And that matches up. If we go into Finder and we look at location here, SDM, that's the same as this little eject button here. Alternatively, you can also control click or click with 2 fingers on the Mac, or however your control click or alternate click is set. Typically, you can hold the control button and click. And you'll see that we also have this option here, eject SDM. Now, this is 3 different ways to do the same thing. It's effectively the same no matter how you choose to do it. But this is how you eject the drive. Now you can run into some of the similar problems where if you are using files on this drive while you are trying to eject it, it will complain and tell you that it's not possible to eject the drive. In that case, you want to make sure that you shut down any files or programs that are running using contents on the drive. For instance, if I have this text file open or any other files that exist on the drive open for editing, and I try to eject it, it will tell me that it's not possible to eject, and I first need to close everything. So in that case, you just need to close any files, and then you can reattempt to eject the drive. If it complains and says that it's still not able to eject because some program is using it, and you're not able to locate what program it is, the safest bet is to just shut down your computer completely. Once the computer is fully shut down, you can then remove the drive from the computer, meaning there's no power or anything, no electricity flowing between the drive and the computer. Everything's been fully shut down. It is safe to then remove the drive from the computer. This is the safest bet if you're not able to get it to eject correctly and successfully. And it will warn you and tell you when it is not able to eject successfully.
Alright, so that about wraps up our video on external drives. Hopefully this helps you get a better understanding of what external drives are and what they could be used for, and the different types of external drives and how each type is different from the other and how you can use them to your benefit. I'll be leaving links in the description so that way you can look at some different types of external drives in case you want to buy one. But I hope this video was helpful, and thank you for watching.